Sakamoto Days has a lot of pain. Characters are frequently subjected to pretty tough, often life or death situations, and even if they succeed in surviving, the consequences still bring more pain. It's even a whole mantra that the best assassins are the ones who simply get the job done without any emotional attachment, because in their line of work, emotions can just straight up result in death. However, even amongst the hardened assassins of the world, one stands out as having a uniquely difficult and tragic life. One stands out as an assassin who has endured more pain and suffering than almost anyone else, and that person is Yotsumura. So, what exactly has happened in Yotsumura's life to make it so tragic? To start, he was always a hardened assassin even in his earlier years. The earliest information we have of Yotsumura's life is from when he was number 2 in the JAA. He was the former chairman's right-hand man, meaning any enemy of the JAA was also an enemy to him. Moreover, he was also the co-founder of the Order alongside Kendaka, and in its early days, the two ventured around and gathered unique talent that they thought could make it on Japan's elite killing squad. This would eventually lead to Yotsumura finding Shishiba while on a mission. Because Shishiba straight up killed all of Yotsumura's men, Yotsumura took Shishiba off the streets and under his wing, eventually bringing him into the Order. Even back then, Yotsumura was not exactly a young guy, and his callous and bleak attitude had already set in. Evidently, to become a co-founder of the Order and the JA's number 2, he had to have gone through a lot, so Yotsumura's life must have already been pretty difficult. However, at least at that time, his family stood as something that set itself apart from the constant killing. We don't know how or when he met his wife Shino, but he did and eventually used enough of his riz to marry her and have their son Amane. This family, with Shishiba as a family friend, was probably the only thing that kept Yotsumura's life from being straight assassin business 24/7, and even then, both his wife and Shishiba worked as assassins. But one day, things began to go even more downhill. A plot to kill the chairman of the JAA was uncovered, and as the JAA's number 2, Yotsumura was given direct orders to find and kill the people in charge of this plot. Eventually, Yotsumura visits the famous scratch ticket mission info provider thing, which reveals to him that the people planning to assassinate the chairman have in fact been identified, and Yotsumura had to meet them at the JAA HQ at 3 in the morning to kill them and stop the plot. So, as Yotsumura is getting ready to leave his house, he tells his wife that after this mission, he's planning to take some time off. And for his son Amane, he gives him a titanium 3-section staff as a present. Unfortunately, Amane is just too goated and wants a 4-section staff now since the 3-section ones are too easy. But as Yotsumura puts on his blazer and prepares to leave, Shino notices the scratch ticket that gave Yotsumura his instructions and reveals her true colors. Instead of locking the door for Yotsumura, she instead holds their son hostage with a knife to his throat, telling Yotsumura that if he takes the mission, she'll kill Amane. Yotsumura is super surprised by this, but Shino keeps on yapping, revealing that she's actually been waiting a really long time to do this. As it turns out, from the very beginning, Shino worked for the group plotting to kill the chairman. But Yotsumura stood as a massive obstacle to their plan since he's the chairman's right-hand man and also really strong. So to get leverage on him to ensure that he couldn't protect the chairman, Shino was sent out to marry Yotsumura, have a kid with him, and then use this kid as leverage to keep Yotsumura in the house while the rest of the group went out to assassinate the chairman. Shino continues to yap about how Yotsumura has to stay in the house until the chairman is dead, talking about how he's too strong to beat conventionally and how she's so glad she married him and had a kid just to hold him hostage. But Yotsumura's had enough. Yotsumura locks in, picking up his 3-section staff, and asks if she thinks a hostage really evens things out. While Shino still talks about slitting Amane's throat, Yotsumura pulls up, instantly killing her while Amane wakes up and sees that his dad just killed his mom. Unfortunately, right after having to murder his own wife, Yotsumura had to face his now fully awake son who thinks that his dad just killed his mom for no reason. To try and offset this, Yotsumura tells Amane to forget everything that just happened, but ironically enough, the only thing that Amane actually forgets is Yotsumura telling him to forget everything. From this point onward, Amane absolutely despises the JA and his dad, making it his mission to get revenge on them and even help destroy the JA since he thinks that they're the reason his mom died. For Yotsumura though, not much is known about what happens after this. Yotsumura is later seen just sort of walking around when Shishiba confronts him, asking about what happened. Shishiba reveals that the chairman was in fact assassinated, with a new guy being appointed. This new guy is claiming that Yotsumura was the one who killed the chairman and has put a hit out for Yotsumura's assassination. Yotsumura isn't stupid and realizes that this new guy just wants old leadership gone, and now his student and friend is here to kill him. We don't get to see this fight play out, but it's heavily implied that this fight is where Shishiba gets the scar on his chin. We also have it confirmed that Yotsumura was able to escape from this fight, whether it be because of his own strength or because Shishiba held back to give him a chance to leave. Regardless of that, Yotsumura is able to escape, but now has to go into hiding from the entire world since both the JAA and his son want him dead. Fast forward around 7 years and you have Uzuki trying to destroy the JAA, allowing Yotsumura to come out of hiding. This is first revealed as Nagumo, Shishiba, and Osaragi are tasked with investigating a bunch of killings breaking out in Kyoto. The trio venture over there, and while on the highway, Nagumo and Shishiba encounter a bunch of goons that they make quick work of. Neither of them think it's Suzuki since everything was just too flashy, and as they say that, Yotsumura makes his presence known, appearing in front of them on a tow truck and swinging his 3-section staff. This fight is really quick, with Yotsumura actually being really confident despite going into a 2v1. Once Osaragi arrives though, Yotsumura backs off, saying that the 3 active members of the order would be too many, and then he disappears. Back at Yotsumura's little base, he ends up having to kill essentially all of his goons since they were turning on him for making them fight the order. Crazily enough, within the same day Yotsumura first encountered 3 members of the order, he also has his final fight with Shishiba. The 2 main fighters pull up with their sidekicks, being Osaragi and this geisha lady respectively. As for the main fight, Yotsumura loses, but Shishiba doesn't have the heart to outright kill him. Instead, he drops Yotsumura into the river, leaving it up to chance. And so, as Yotsumura falls down, he thinks back to the fonder moments of his life. He thinks back on the time he spent with Amane, Shino, and Shishiba, only for this to be interrupted by Nagumo grabbing him out of the river and saving him. Unfortunately for Yotsumura, his work is not done. Despite having nearly died, Nagumo has another job for him. Since Yotsumura used to be really highly ranked in the JAA, he still has the connections and the power to get info from deep within the JAA. So, Nagumo tasks Yotsumura with investigating the death of Rion, with the added bonus that if he succeeds, Nagumo will arrange for Amane and Yotsumura to live in peace. But if Yotsumura refuses, Nagumo will just straight up kill both Yotsumura and Amane. So Yotsumura accepts and does as he's told. Unfortunately for Yotsumura again, Nagumo can't really hold up his end of the deal anymore since he was also kicked out from the order and now has a hit out for him. Plus, with Uzuki effectively taking over all of Japan, it's not like Yotsumura can live peacefully since he has to help end the super corrupt JAA control before things will be safe for him again. So in conclusion, Yotsumura's life sucks. Being an assassin is already tough work with the constant threat of death, the risk of forming genuine connections, and the mindset you have to adopt to actually be good at your job. But for Yotsumura, he was not just an assassin. He was so strong that his wife never really loved him. Instead, he was betrayed by her and had to kill her, which only resulted in his son hating his guts for like 8 years, and even when Yotsumura had a chance to create a world that was safe for him, he was nearly killed and then saved only to be used as a pawn by Nagumo. No other character has faced L's on this level, making Yotsumura Sakamoto Days' most tragic character.